My name is Tyler Henry, and I would like to share my story with you. I'm a recovering addict for 4 years now. My road was not an easy one, but thankfully I'm here today to tell you about it. I started using drugs at the tender age of 16. What began as a fun experience soon spiraled into a deep hole that I thought I would never be able to get out of. Before we get into that, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a father, a husband, and a hard worker. Growing up was a struggle with my parents being on Social Security. We did not have much, but we always managed to get by. I have a total of three brothers. One of them is my twin brother, Taylor. Taylor and I have always shared a close connection. When I was 16, I started to experiment with drugs such as marijuana, Molly or MDMA, cocaine, and Percocets. What led me to these things were the hardships that I faced at that time. These things helped me escape the harsh reality of being poor and feeling like a nobody. Let us fast forward a couple years. My habit continued, and I did not realize I had a problem until I was about 18 years old. This is whenever my perk habit had turned into a heroin habit. At this time, Taylor and I moved out of our parents' house and started selling bud to support our growing hunger for heroin. You guys probably know how the story goes. Him and I thought we were on top of the world, hustling drugs, and with what seemed like a bunch of friends around us. Suddenly, though, my world came to a halt whenever I discovered that I had a daughter on the way. The relationship between my daughter's mother and I was not a good one. Being 18, I was naive and wanted things to go my way. I came to the realization that it wasn't going to go my way. This drove my hunger to escape my own reality. Soon after my daughter was born, she was kept from me. At the time, I thought it was because her mother was being ignorant, but little did I know she was protecting her from myself. This is whenever I really dove deep into my own carnage. I was nearly 19 whenever all this was going on, and I started to eject heroin. I fell in love instantly. There was nothing more that I wanted but to feel the sweet sensation of getting high. This pushed me to extreme levels of chaos. I began to steal from those that I loved. I remember an instance where I stole over $5,000 worth of tools and pawned them, and they belonged to my father. I manipulated anybody so that I could try and get high. I began to slack at my own job, and soon I got fired due to stealing. Then guess what? I resorted to hustling heroin to support my habit. Over the course of this period, I had overdosed 3 times. I got another job and got fired again due to stealing. This time I got caught and the police came knocking. I went to jail for the first time in my life and experienced true withdrawal in its purest form. Fortunately, I was bailed out by my dad and I was back on the streets. I had a plan to run from my pending charge and stay getting high. I thought heroin was my I thought heroin was my bitch, but in all actuality, I was its servant. Soon enough, I failed a piss test and was back in jail. I was court ordered to rehab, Code Forge. My time at rehab was enjoyable. I was able to get cleaned up and get my mind right. I thought this was enough to keep me on the straight and narrow. Once I got home, I soon discovered that it was not. Within a week, I was back at it and trying to avoid probation. I avoided them for nearly a year before they picked me up and I was back in jail. During that year, I met Tina for the first time and found a second love. My binges would go on for weeks. Anyhow, this time coming home, I was sent to DRC, which I had heard several things about. I was weary about the place, was not looking forward to participating in the program. This is where I made my mistake. See, the trend throughout my whole story here is not wanting to commit to a decision and sticking with it. My first go around with DRC went as you can expect. I was getting high and trying to play their system, which obviously did not work. I went back to jail. At that time, I was nearly 22 years old and my dad's health was declining rapidly. This was my 4th time in jail and I was sick and tired of getting sick and tired. I wanted to turn my life around and be somebody. I had nothing, no money, no valuables, no relationship with my daughter. And I was beginning to lose complete trust with my parents, who were the only ones that were actually there for me. At this time, I was broken down, and I knew that life was not just about getting high and going to jail constantly. I decided to bend my willpower and commit to sincerely trying to stay clean this time around, and I did it. The biggest thing that drove me was my own commitment. I cannot express how important this is to sobriety. When these guys say that you cannot do it for anybody but yourself, it is a true statement. I have discovered this through trial and error. Loving companionship also helped a lot. Using gets rid of what your sense, or using gets rid of what, using gets rid of your sense of what true love is and companionship. I was able to rediscover what both were through my wife. Her and I were high school sweethearts, and I had my mother get in touch with her whenever I was locked up this last time. She picked me up on my release date, and we have been inseparable ever since. Let me be clear. I worked hard through my demons. I was able to successfully complete PRC and get my original job back. I established goals and met them. What pushed me even harder is when my dad died. I did not want to torment him in his grave by showing him that I just continued to be an addict. He wanted nothing more but to see me succeed. For the record, I am here today because of myself. I broke myself down on so many levels, but through hard work and dedication through a new hustle, the hustle of being clean, I was able to build myself back up and make something of myself. Make goals, beat them, and make more goals. Life is so much better on the other side, my friends. I am now a married man and a successful employee at my workplace, and I have a relationship with my daughter. Most importantly, I'm a clean and sober individual. Thank you.
Well, I have to tell you, when I hear stories like that, it just always touches my heart.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, you fought as hard as you did, and you're here today to tell us about it.
Absolutely.
You talked about you overdosed 3 times.
Yes.
So tell us a little more about that. Like, when you say you overdosed, what was that like?
Well, the first time, you want me to go in detail? Like,
Well, I mean, what you're comfortable, like, did you end up in the hospital? Like, what happened?
So all 3 times, I was at my parents' house where I lived, and I was using, obviously, and I would push myself so far to the point where I didn't realize exactly how much I was using. And then each and every time that I had overdosed, thankfully somebody was there to, find me. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Mm-hmm.
And it was scary. All 3 times I had woken up and I was in the back of an ambulance. I was like, whoa, what's going on? And then the first time was obviously the scariest. It was, something new. I'd never experienced that before. But the second and third time, it was unfortunate because it almost seemed like it became a habit that, okay, I'm back here again. I know what I'm doing. And then, getting out and going back to it, that's the craziness, and using is just, that's all you want. And it is hard to get away from, but the biggest thing is just making your mind up and saying no.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us more about your job and how's that going and where you work? And
so I mentioned twice that I got fired due to stealing. The first time I was working at Ventura Foods, which is where I now work, and I have been working. I was devastated whenever I got fired there. It was over stealing a soda. And the reason I did that is because I had used all my money, to support my habit. And as soon as I got fired, I realized, like, hey, I'm losing a good opportunity here, and I'm losing it due to drug use. So that did hurt me a lot. That really devastated me. It scared me because I knew that I was losing something important. And then the second time I was working at Taco Bell as a manager. They hired me on as manager, and I had the great idea to steal money out of the cash register.
mm-hmm.
And the reason I did that was to go out and get high. And that time I'm actually thankful for now, because that's when I got caught by the police, and I actually caught a charge over it, which is unfortunate, but it taught me a lesson. And that's invaluable to me. So I wouldn't be where I am today if that never happened.
Right. Part of where you are today, frankly, is alive.
Yeah.
Because when I remember back, the two of you, your brother was here too.
Mhm.
I never could tell you apart. I almost called you Taylor today. And back and forth, you seem to do well and then kind of have a hard time and pull yourself back, back and forth, back and forth. But it felt like there was a point where you made a decision that, you were going to do this and really devote yourself. And then it was better from then on out, and I remember you doing so well in your classes here. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what would you say was most helpful for you? I mean, some people talk about it was the knowing they were going to get drug tested. Some people, it was a certain class, a certain person helped them, that kind of thing. What was it for you?
I think my biggest thing was just the fact that I was always close with my dad. And my dad, his health was declining. You guys know that whenever we'd show up. And I know that he was so disappointed in seeing us go through, trial and error. And I wanted to show him that, you can get clean, that I could get clean and stay clean before, because I knew him passing away was inevitable. I knew it was going to happen. So I think that was my biggest thing, is knowing that my dad, I wanted to make him proud, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I wanted to, be a good son, make him proud, and show him that, I wasn't just an addict. That's not what I was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that drove me the most, I think. And then obviously, just saying, no, I'm done. Because I was fed up. I was honestly fed up. I was tired of having, marks on my arms, putting a long sleeve shirt on in the middle of summertime, trying to hide from people, lying to people, and doing anything that I could just to get high. And that's not what life is about. Life is about love and being a good citizen, working hard, paying your dues. I can now, I now have a permit to carry. That's something that I never thought would even be that, something for me to achieve. And I can do that responsibly, knowing that I'm not going to do something stupid with it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what it was.
Lots of things to be proud of that you've accomplished.
Absolutely.
I'm just glad to see you here. Believe me.
Thank you.
Because sometimes, I'd find out, back in jail.
Yeah.
So glad to see that you're doing so incredibly well. I'm going to check the chat box here.
Okay.
So we have one question. Tyler is asking, how is your brother?
My brother. So Taylor, unfortunately, right now is in jail. He's still struggling a little bit. He wants to get there and he's trying to get there. I'm hoping that this time is the time that he's able to get there. You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, I'm sure everybody that knows me and him knows that him and I are very close. And with him using and me being clean, I can't have that around me because I'm afraid that it's going to affect me. But that doesn't mean I don't encourage him to do well and try to stay on the right path. But ultimately, that's his decision. So I'm hoping that this time is the time that he makes up his mind and stays straight. I did mention going to Cove Forge. That was whenever I first caught my charge and I was court ordered to Cove Forge. I did enjoy the facility. I found that whenever I was there, I was trying to invest myself into it like tenfold. So I was able to make a bond with some people there. And we almost formed like a coalition where, we were really anti-drug. We weren't having it. And that really helped a lot. That pushed me through. That pushed me through getting through rehab. It helped having that support system there. I have heard that some rehabs aren't that great. I did enjoy Cove Forge. I think it was a good facility. I know there was an instance, there was drugs on campus and they shut that down instantly, which was great. And let's think. I had the rehab experience, and then I had DRC, which to me helped. I know a lot of people, they used to hear DRC and they're like, oh no, it's horrible, it's awful. And I actually said to Miss Elliott the other day, maybe they don't have a high success rate, but that doesn't exactly mean that they're not doing their job. It's the people that's not committing to staying clean. If you went into DRC and you failed a P test, whose fault's that? It's not DRC's fault. But the classes at DRC did help me. I enjoyed, I forget the name of it, but with the workbook,
MRT?
yeah, MRT, that was something I really enjoyed. It helped me personally find things that I didn't particularly think about deep down. It helped me find and root out the core issues to why I was using. I'm making it seem like it was easy, and it wasn't. It was hard, and it's not something that happens overnight. I had many different trials and errors, and the reason I said that it comes down to just saying no is because ultimately you're the one that makes that decision. It has to be you. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I know it's not, the easiest thing. You don't just say no and you're done. The support system helps. Having structure, like Miss Eden said, me working all the time, that obviously did help too. And just wanting to be better, honestly.